Asia's billionaires are buying private jets faster than the rest of the world combined, and it's not because they want luxury. It's because they're preparing for something. Something the rest of the world hasn't caught on to yet. In 2026, a private jet arms race is erupting across Asia, and the numbers are so extreme that even Western aviation giants are panicking. I've spent weeks staring at flight trackers for this story, sitting in a coffee shop with a laptop that's overheating, watching a $75 million Gulfstream flicker on my screen. It's a weird feeling. It makes you realize that we aren't even living on the same planet anymore. Jets that cost more than skyscrapers. Aircraft that can fly from Singapore to New York without stopping. And a new class of ultra-rich who treat time the way the rest of us treat oxygen, something they can't live without. But behind the polished leather seats and panoramic windows lies a story of power, fear, and a silent battle for dominance in the skies. This isn't just about travel. This is about control. And Asia's billionaires are rewriting the rules. To protect the identities of those operating in high-tension markets, I've used pseudonyms for the sources I spoke with. However, their stories are backed by the 2025 Wealth Migration Report and recent aviation data from the Singapore Air Show. When I first started digging into this story, I assumed it was just another tale of luxury, rich people buying shiny toys. But the deeper I went, the more unsettling it became. To find out what's actually happening inside these planes, I spoke to a high-end aviation interior designer, the kind of person who gets paid six figures just to pick the right leather. He told me the requests have changed. They aren't asking for gold-plated sinks anymore. They're asking for environmental isolation systems to scrub out biochemical agents. He told me, "I'm not building a hotel. I'm building a life support system for a crisis." The numbers didn't just surprise me, they genuinely shocked me. It felt less like a trend and more like a quiet shift in how power moves across the world. And the more I looked, the clearer it became that something much bigger is happening above our heads. What almost no one realizes is that several of Asia's richest families aren't just buying jets, they're building private aviation bunkers. Hidden hangars in remote parts of Indonesia, underground garages in the Philippines, and private runways in rural India. These aren't luxury toys. They're escape plans. A quiet insurance policy in case political tensions flare, markets crash, or governments tighten their grip. One aviation consultant even claimed that a handful of billionaires requested jets with rapid departure protocols, meaning they can be airborne in under 8 minutes. Think about that. It takes me 8 minutes just to find my car keys or decide what to order for lunch. These guys can be at 30,000 feet, outrunning a coup or a market crash, in the same amount of time. That's the gap between us and them. It's not just money, it's the speed of survival. When the ultra-rich prepare for worst-case scenarios, it usually means they know something the rest of us don't. Asia is experiencing the fastest wealth explosion in human history. China now has over 500 billionaires. India has more than 200. Southeast Asia, once dismissed as developing, is minting millionaires at a pace that terrifies Western economists. But with this wealth comes a new problem: mobility. For the ultra-rich, time isn't money. Time is survival. A delayed flight in Singapore can derail a billion-dollar deal. A missed connection in Hong Kong can cost a tech founder millions. And in a world where political tensions are rising, privacy and safety are no longer luxuries, they're necessities. That's why Asia's elite are abandoning first class. Not because it's uncomfortable, but because it's too slow, too public, too unpredictable. They want something faster, something safer, something that moves when they move. And so begins the boom. Private jet flights worldwide are up 35% from pre-pandemic levels. But Asia is the real story. The data is staggering. While the US still owns the most jets, Asia is dominating new deliveries. In 2025, the Asia-Pacific market saw a 10% surge in private flight volume, with the Philippines and Japan leading the charge. We are looking at a projected $48 billion industry by the end of 2026, fueled by a new class of ultra-rich who are growing at twice the rate of their Western counterparts. International traffic in the region grew 8% in 2025, outpacing the entire world. India, China, Vietnam, Indonesia, all among the fastest growing aviation markets on the planet. But here's the twist. This isn't about luxury. It's about strategy. In Bengaluru, a 32-year-old AI founder who sold his startup for $900 million now flies exclusively on a Gulfstream G700. He says losing 12 hours in transit costs him more than the jet itself. "If I'm tired, I lose deals," he says. "If I lose deals, I lose time. And time is the only thing I can't buy back." In Shenzhen, a real estate tycoon uses his Falcon 8X not for luxury, but for safety. After a political crackdown on high-profile businessmen, he no longer flies commercial. "Too many eyes," he says. "Too many risks." His jet is his shield, a moving fortress in the sky. In Jakarta, a family-owned conglomerate uses a private jet to manage factories across 17,000 islands. Commercial flights would take days. Their jet cuts it to hours. "It's not luxury," the CEO says. "It's logistics." These stories aren't outliers. They are the new normal. And then there's the story that shook the aviation world in late 2025. A young crypto billionaire from Thailand reportedly flew from Bangkok to Zurich with $400 million in digital assets stored on a hardware wallet, strapped to his wrist. He didn't trust commercial airlines. He didn't trust airport security. He didn't trust anyone. His jet was guarded by private security, and the flight crew had signed NDAs thicker than textbooks. When asked why he went to such extremes, he simply said, "When you're rich enough, paranoia becomes common sense." When I first heard about the hardware wallet on the wrist, I laughed. It sounds like a bad movie trope. But then I looked at the capital flight data. In a world where a government can freeze your bank account with one keystroke, a private jet is the only bank vault that moves at Mach 0.9. I stopped laughing pretty quickly. It was a reminder that for many of Asia's new ultra-rich, private jets aren't symbols of wealth, they're shields against a world they no longer feel safe in. There are also whispers about something even more intriguing: secret meetings happening mid-air. Several aviation insiders claim that some of Asia's most powerful billionaires now conduct negotiations exclusively on private jets, far from surveillance, far from leaks, far from prying governments. One pilot revealed that he once flew a jet where two rival CEOs, whose companies were publicly at war, sat across from each other in a cabin designed to block all electronic signals. They landed as partners. Deals worth billions are now being signed at 40,000 feet, in the quiet hum of a jet slicing through the night sky. The higher the altitude, the fewer the rules. At the 2026 Singapore Air Show, the Big Three, Gulfstream, Bombardier, and Dassault, stopped selling planes and started selling time warps. Gulfstream's G700 was the predator of the show, a 7,500-mile monster that turns a flight from Singapore to San Francisco into a 13-hour nap in a pressurized Grand Suite. This shift in the market is a cold, calculated response to a world where digital banking and physical borders are becoming more restrictive. In my view, the private jet has officially evolved from a status symbol into a hard asset. It is the ultimate insurance policy for an uncertain decade. Not to be outdone, Bombardier fired back with the Global 8000, claiming the title of the world's fastest business jet with a top speed of Mach 0.94. It doesn't just fly, it screams across the Pacific. But the real warfare is happening inside the cabins. We're seeing a shift where luxury is being replaced by survivability. These aren't just flying penthouses, they are flying command centers designed to keep a CEO operational while the world below goes into chaos. Behind closed doors, manufacturers admit something they never say publicly: Asia is now their battlefield. Sales teams are being relocated to Singapore and Dubai. Engineers are being flown to India weekly. And some companies are quietly designing jets specifically for Asian billionaires, with feng shui-aligned cabin layouts, prayer rooms, hidden safes, and even biometric-locked meeting pods. One insider leaked that a Chinese billionaire requested a jet with a built-in quantum-encrypted communication chamber, essentially a flying war room. The West used to set the standards for private aviation. Now, They're scrambling to keep up with Asia's demands. And then there's the luxury no one talks about, the kind that never makes it into brochures. Some jets now come with onboard chefs trained in Michelin-star kitchens, spas with zero-gravity massage chairs, and even miniature art galleries featuring original pieces worth millions. The rumors at the 2026 air shows are getting even wilder. One whispers of a Southeast Asian tycoon who demanded a stabilized, gyroscopic koi pond built into the fuselage. While engineers call it physically insane due to weight and slosh dynamics, the fact that such a rumor even exists tells you everything you need to know about the ego war and dominance currently happening in Asian hangars. When you step inside one, you're not entering a cabin. You're entering a statement. But here's where the tension hits. Governments are starting to panic. Climate activists are furious. Commercial airlines are losing their wealthiest customers. Western aviation giants are terrified that Asia's new rich will reshape the entire industry. Private jets vs the climate crisis. Asia vs the West. Tech founders vs time. Commercial airlines versus private aviation. The new rich vs the old rich. This is the real battle. And the stories fueling it are even more dramatic. A Singaporean fintech CEO uses his G700 to negotiate deals across 3 continents in a single week. His Western competitors? They're stuck in airports. His closing deals while they're still boarding. A Vietnamese billionaire quietly purchased a Falcon 7X after political tensions rose in 2025. His jet is always fueled, always ready. Just in case, he says. You never know when you'll need to leave. Private jets aren't just luxury. They're insurance. I remember sitting in a coffee shop in Singapore last month, just watching the flight tracker on my phone. While the commercial boards were filled with delays, I noticed a cluster of private tails, unmarked, high-performance long-range jets, taking off in 10-minute intervals heading toward remote islands. It didn't look like a holiday rush. It looked like a coordinated exit. That's what triggered this investigation. I wanted to know, what do they know that we don't? Several Asian nations have quietly begun monitoring private jet movements more closely, worried that capital and influence is leaving the country too quickly. In 2026, one Southeast Asian government even attempted to temporarily ground all private jets during a political crisis, fearing that key business leaders would flee. Within hours, 3 billionaires had already taken off, outrunning the order. It was a stark reminder. When you have your own aircraft, borders become suggestions, not barriers. But every boom has a cost. As Asia's ultra-rich take to the skies, inequality widens on the ground. Commercial airlines are scrambling to keep up, expanding first class and business class just to stay relevant. Meanwhile, private jet companies are building new maintenance hubs in Malaysia, Singapore, and India, preparing for a future where private aviation becomes the default for the wealthy. And here's the twist no one sees coming. Private jets are becoming tools of global strategy. A CEO in Shenzhen can fly to New York, London, Dubai, and back to Asia in a single week, without ever touching a commercial terminal. A billionaire in Mumbai can manage companies across 3 continents without losing a minute. A tech founder in Singapore can negotiate deals in Silicon Valley and be home for dinner. This isn't luxury. This is power. And honestly, the more I learned about this world, the stranger it felt. It's hard not to wonder what all of this means for the rest of us, people who will never step foot inside a private jet, let alone one that can outrun a political crisis. Part of me is fascinated, part of me is uneasy, and part of me can't look away. Because once you see how the ultra-rich move, you start to realize just how differently their world operates. But the most immediate frontier isn't space, it's the digital Iron Curtain. As governments in the region tighten their grip on the internet and capital flow, these jets are becoming the last sovereign territories. Several tech giants are now commissioning jets with private, satellite-linked servers that bypass local ground-based firewalls entirely. They aren't just escaping physical borders, they're escaping digital ones. For Asia's billionaires, the future isn't about being the richest person in the room, it's about having a room that can fly 40,000 feet above the rules. The sky isn't the limit anymore. It's the only place where they are still truly in control. And the future? It's even more extreme. By 2030, experts predict Asia will dominate the private jet market. Not the US, not Europe, Asia. And the jets themselves are evolving. Faster, longer range, more fuel efficient, more luxurious, more secretive. Some manufacturers are already testing jets that can fly from Tokyo to London in under 9 hours. Others are experimenting with AI-piloted aircraft. And a few, quietly, are exploring hypersonic travel. The sky is no longer the limit. It's the battleground. Honestly, the more I learned, the more uneasy I felt. These jets represent the death of the global village. They're escaping the rules we all have to live by. I saw a vapor trail in the sky last night. I didn't see a luxury toy. I saw a sovereign territory heading toward a horizon the rest of us aren't even allowed to see yet. At 1% Billionaires, we don't just highlight wealth, we reveal the essence of the 1%. Our mission is to narrate and curate the finest examples of luxury living, showcasing the comfort, style, and legacy behind every choice, brand, and experience. We believe in the mantra narrate, don't just showcase, because true luxury is more than possessions. It is a story of elegance, exclusivity, and timeless sophistication. Every image becomes a narrative, and every detail a chapter in the billionaire lifestyle. The perspectives we share are original and not found anywhere else on YouTube or social media. They are meticulously crafted by our human team to inspire, captivate, and elevate your imagination.